What's happening tonight, fans? Welcome to our first of a few special spring editions of Holding Court with Todd Dagenais and along with the coach. I'm Jeff Sharon. Thank you for hanging out with us as we have our first spring edition. It's been a couple months since we've seen you, Coach, but how's everything been going? How's the holidays?
Good. It was a nice break for us, but it's really good to be back in the gym again and getting that ball in the air.
And one of the things that we wanted to talk about, obviously, in the spring, volleyball doesn't really go away. And one of the things that we wanted to talk about and sort of divulge to the fans is, what the players and you and the coaching staff go through in terms of off-season, well, I say off-season, but spring workouts, and some of the things that you guys work on in the off-season. So let's pretend for a minute that I played for you as a player. What would we be working on? What would my schedule look like from January 1st up until now?
I think a lot of fans wouldn't realize it. It's a year-round sport. I mean, really, we are committed to our craft year-round. And so we took a good 4 weeks off around Christmas and kind of refreshed our bodies a little bit. But when we came back for the start of the semester in January, it was one solid week of nothing but weight training and conditioning to kind of build the base for what was going to be our primary focus in the spring, which was speed, agility, quickness, power, strength, those kinds of things. And so probably for the first year since I've been here, we de-emphasized volleyball for the first 6 weeks of the spring school year and really concentrated on what we were doing in the weight room. And it's been great.
Now, one of the things that I think that a lot of casual fans and that we always look for is the worst possible thing that could possibly happen in the offseason is an injury. Mm-hmm. So what do you guys do to prevent or at least mitigate the possibility of that happening in one way or another?
Well, when you work with our doctors and our strength and conditioning staff and our athletic trainers, they'll tell you we have to be strong. And with so many young people on the roster, so many freshmen and sophomores, they haven't had time to chain themselves to the weight bench, which is really something that they need to do. And that's really what the spring is about with all those young players right now. And so we spend a lot of time in the weight room just getting the major muscle groups a lot stronger. And, it's the overuse stuff that sometimes can lead to the acute injuries. And so, knock on wood, it's been good so far. We've been able to avoid a lot of the overuse stuff. And because I think we're a lot stronger and a little bit more explosive, we're putting ourselves in a better position to stay healthy throughout the spring.
Who's impressed you the most out of your players so far this spring?
I think in the weight room, the first thing that we noticed is the person that gained the most strength was Ashley Galinos. And so it's really great to see her those first 6 weeks bust it in the weight room.
Wow.
In terms of our jumping and our inches, it was Marie Richrova was the one that, if you add up the broad jump and the vertical jump and the block jump, she had the highest out of anybody that we had out there. But across the board, we changed some things up with our strength conditioning. Across the board, we're noticing at least 20% gains in just 6 weeks. So that is just a fantastic base for us to get through the spring semester. Now we work on converting that more into explosiveness and a little more verticality. And then we really lay the foundation over the summer to get ready for the fall. But I mean, really, where we are in our strength and conditioning is just fantastic. And we're noticing monumental gains. And I think it puts us in a position. I mean, our both middles jump tested over 10.5. And that is major Division I international level athleticism. Now we go to work on making them better volleyball players.
Yeah.
But athletically, they can jump with anybody in the country. And so it was really exciting to head into our 20 hours a week practice sequence like we're in right now, as athletic as we are.
Now comes the time when you do get involved and try and have a little bit more competition so you can put that work to the test. So obviously in the spring it's a little bit different. So we do have a tournament coming up later, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But the first thing I wanted to talk to you about was the Florida WAVE professional team that's coming into play. Give us a little bit more background on that and where they come from and a little bit more info on that.
Sure. USA Volleyball is very much committed to try and get a professional league started in the United States. And it hasn't been successful because of the money and the sponsorship. And there's a myriad of reasons why women's professional volleyball hasn't made it. But now with USA Volleyball behind it, it's got a chance. And so what they decided to do is they already have established regions. There's 30 some odd regions in the country. And Florida has its own region.
Yeah.
And so each of the regions have an opportunity to put together a professional league made up of players that were either born in that region or played collegiately in that region. And Florida, fortunate for us, is one of those regions that's supporting a program. So UCF is trying to help them, and we're going to be their first ever opponent. They're going to join us this Saturday, March 17th. and we're going to play matches. We'll play some scrimmage work in the morning, some practice stuff. But then from 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock in the afternoon, right here in the venue, we're going to be playing matches against them. Rollins College is going to come over as well. And so the Wave will break up into 2 teams, and we'll play one, Rollins will play the other, and then we'll switch. So we're going to get little mini matches in against the Florida Wave, and it'll be good competition for them, and it'll be a good start to the spring for us.
There's a familiar name on the Wave roster that I know hardcore UCF volleyball fans remember. I remember from when I was a student here. Tanya Jarvis, who is one of our best players from the early 2000s, will be playing for the Florida Wave. Have you had contact with her recently, and how excited is she to get back on the floor where she's had so many great matches over the years?
Well, sure. Tanya's one of those alumni that came back. We need more of them to come back, but Tanya's been wonderful. Of course, the high school and the club coach in the community is doing such a great job with her high school and her club programs, and we're so excited to have one of our own be a part of this program and have an opportunity to come back here and play against us. I just talked to her last week about it, and she's bouncing off the walls to have that opportunity to come back here to her home and be able to play, even though it's in a different jersey.
What's exciting about it is the fact, we were talking about this earlier, is that the Wave roster consists of all players who either grew up in the state of Florida or played their college volleyball here. So there are going to be a lot of other familiar names we've seen from other schools around the state, Florida State, Miami, no doubt. And it's nice to see that they're all still enjoying the game and playing the game and preaching the gospel of volleyball to the spectators who come and the young and the youth teams that are going to come see the team play.
So I think it's important that college athletes have an opportunity to play beyond the national team. Such a small percentage of athletes ever make it to our national team. That's our NFL or our NBA is the national team, and very few actually make it there. So it's great to have organized high-level opportunities for young women after they graduate to be able to play.
All right, so after the matches with the Wave on I almost said Thanksgiving Day. No, St. Patrick's Day. Are you breaking out the green uniforms?
We're not breaking out the green uniforms. No, we are going to be in our traditional UCF apparel.
All right, we'll see if we can get that fixed. But then what happens with the schedule after that? What are some of the other events that you have coming up that our fans should know about?
Sure. Again, we're still in the middle of our 20 hours a week. We get 6 weeks, 32 practice days we have left over from the fall that we're using this spring. And so this weekend, again, we play the Wave. It's 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock on Saturday here at the venue. We'll come back next weekend. It's our big tournament. Every year we host a big tournament, bring in 12 to 15 teams, and and all the money goes to charity. And this year it's Florida Hands and Voices, which, as you know, is a charity that's very close to the heart of myself and my wife, with us having a deaf daughter. And so what this charity is it supports families with young children who are deaf or hard of hearing. So we're having a big benefit tournament with Florida State, Miami, several Division II schools from around the state, Florida International, Florida Atlantic, South Florida. So we've pretty much got most of the Florida colleges coming in here for a big tournament on Saturday. It starts at 9 o'clock in the morning and will go till about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Entry fee will be $5, and of course all that money goes to the charity. But it's going to be a great opportunity to have high-level volleyball. Believe me, those Division I teams come in and they're going to act like it's the fall because nobody wants to lose any ground to each other. Florida State's coming off of a Final Four run, so they're the hot team right now. Florida wants to beat them.
Yep, that's for sure.
It's going to be a really cool environment for fans to come out and enjoy high-level volleyball. And we're going to do it for a good cause, too.
What I think is also fun about that is that not only do they get the chance to settle some scores to some extent from the fall, but also the fact that the players on those teams are competing for roster spots for the following fall. So it's that much more of incentive for these players and these teams to bring their best to the venue. I think it's going to be a fantastic tournament. Do you see a little bit something different in the spring?
No, I think you're exactly right. There's people that maybe didn't get to start on their teams last fall that are trying to prove to the coach, now that senior has graduated, I'm the one that should be playing, not the incoming freshman. So, those returning players have a spring to prove themselves before they head into the fall with the new players coming in.
Gotcha. So the schedule will be busy over the next couple of weeks. And one last thing that I wanted to touch upon before we go, Coach. Obviously, a lot happening here at UCF over the course of the holidays. A lot of changes taking place, but the big one that I wanted to talk to you about was the move to the Big East. That's now, we avoided it for a long time, but now it's official now. So in 2013, UCF comes to the Big East. Tell me about what this means for volleyball in terms of the Big East Conference and UCF being part of that.
There's two things that immediately come to mind. I mean, one is the budgets are going to go up. And I think
It's true.
That's a wonderful. I'd be lying if I said that wasn't, something that's really going to help us out. Now it's going to take a few years for that Big East money to really kick in and help all of us out. But that's the first thing, is I think it's going to allow additional resources for our student athletes. I think the second thing, it opens up an entire new recruiting base for us.
Yeah.
Now we can get up into Cincinnati and Indiana and Chicago and Milwaukee and all those great recruiting areas, because we're going to be playing in those areas now. And so I think it's going to really expand our recruiting opportunities. And the other thing is the Big East has been getting 2, 3, 4 teams into the NCAA tournament. The way I see it, the conferences in terms of rankings are about the same, but there's no doubt that the top end of the conference in the Big East is exceptional. Every year you have ranked teams, and it's going to be a great challenge for us to come in. But I also feel like with our young roster, with another year to prepare, when it's time, UCF volleyball is going to be ready. Where we fit in, I don't know till we play that first year. 'Cause without seeing those teams, I don't know. I know we're going to compete pretty favorably. We've had our success against Pittsburgh and South Florida and some of the other Big East teams that we played. So we know we're going to go in there and we're going to be able to compete. But we've got one more great year with Conference USA. A lot of friends we get to do the farewell tour with. We're going to bring some of our friends with us to the Big East. So we're really looking forward to our last year in Conference USA and see if we can't hang up a banner, on our way out of here.
That should be fun. Well, as we finish up here, once again, a reminder, the matches against the Florida WAVE take place on St. Patrick's Day. That's March 17th from 2 to 5 p.m. right here in the venue. Be sure you come on out and support the team, and also support Tanya Jarvis, who plays for the WAVE, one of our alumni here from UCF. So we'll be back again next week with more talk about the big tournament that we're having here that we touched upon with Coach, and it should be fun. It's good to be back. It's good to see volleyball actually once again here in the spring.
Well, it's good to be back, and we're glad we're making this a year-round thing. People come out year-round to support women's volleyball.
All right, it should be fun. Thanks for joining us, Coach.
My pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you for watching. This has been Holding Court with Todd Dagenais, our first spring edition. We'll catch you again next week. For the coach, Todd Dagenais, I'm Jeff Sharon. Thanks for joining us. We'll catch you again on Holding Court next week.